The Pittsburgh Steelers just plunged into their most chaotic 24 hours of the season. What began as a standard midweek preparation spiraled into a storm of controversy, injuries, and organizational urgency. Within a single day, headlines shifted from optimism to confusion. The first major blow came from the defensive backfield. Starting safety DeShon Elliott was unexpectedly downgraded to questionable for Week 7 due to personal reasons. He did not travel with the team to Cincinnati, and his absence immediately altered defensive planning. Elliott had already missed 2 games earlier in the season because of a knee issue. In contrast, there was one positive update. Linebacker Malik Harrison, who had been on injured reserve since Week 1 with a knee injury, returned to practice. His activation marks a significant reinforcement to the front 7. Harrison's experience and size provide a much-needed rotational option for a defense that has been overworked through the first 6 games. However, player health was not the only issue. The conditions at Acrisure Stadium became a point of national debate after multiple players complained to the NFL Players Association about the state of the playing surface. Following Pittsburgh's 23-9 win over the Cleveland Browns, reports surfaced that several players were unhappy with the turf quality. Kicker Chris Boswell had slipped during a field goal attempt, dislodging a large patch of grass with his plant foot. Observers noted visible divots across the surface, particularly in the middle zones between the hash marks. Team captain Cameron Hayward, who also serves as Pittsburgh's player representative to the NFLPA, was more direct. Speaking to reporters after practice, he said the surface was unacceptable and added that multiple teammates had expressed the same sentiment privately. He cited the example of Miles Killebrew, who suffered a non-contact knee injury after his cleat planted awkwardly in the turf. While internal focus centered on player health, external attention turned to the team's trade outlook. Multiple league sources reported that the Steelers are exploring the acquisition of a wide receiver before the upcoming trade deadline. Among the names circulated is Jakobi Meyers, the veteran receiver currently with the Las Vegas Raiders. Meyers recorded over 1,000 receiving yards in 2024 and recently requested a trade. Pittsburgh's interest reportedly stems from an ongoing evaluation of its passing attack, which has struggled to generate consistency beyond its top target. Reports have also mentioned Michael Gallup, though Gallup's availability remains uncertain after his placement on the reserve, retired list earlier this year. The Steelers' scouting staff has been monitoring other potential options across both conferences. Tomlin declined to comment directly on specific targets but said the organization is always looking for ways to strengthen the roster where appropriate. That phrasing aligns with General Manager Omar Khan's recent pattern of seeking mid-season depth through trades, a strategy previously used to address linebacker and cornerback shortages. The renewed trade activity follows a sequence of offensive struggles. Through 6 games, Pittsburgh ranks in the lower half of the league in total offense and red zone efficiency. The coaching staff has privately acknowledged the need for an additional receiving option to stretch defenses vertically. The interest in Meyers reportedly originated from offensive coordinator Arthur Smith, who has emphasized balanced formations and quick intermediate routes. Meanwhile, their next opponent, the Cincinnati Bengals, faces challenges of its own. Defensive end Trey Hendrickson, who led the NFL in sacks during the 2024 season, is listed as questionable with a hip injury. He missed Wednesday's practice and is expected to be a game-time decision. Hendrickson has accumulated 4 sacks through 6 games in 2025. His potential absence could significantly alter Cincinnati's pass rush against Pittsburgh's offensive line, which has shown improvement in recent weeks. The Bengals also placed tight end Mike Gesicki on injured reserve with a pectoral injury and ruled out Tanner Hudson due to a concussion. The injury situation has therefore affected both sides of the matchup. For Pittsburgh, the uncertainty surrounding Elliott leaves the defense shorthanded in the secondary. Safeties Chuck Clark, Jabril Peppers, and Juan Thornhill are expected to rotate, with potential emergency support from Jalen Ramsey in sub-packages. The coaching staff has spent the week adjusting defensive schemes to accommodate those contingencies. Tomlin's comments addressed all 3 fronts, health, field, and trade, in a concise but pointed manner. Regarding the injuries, he said that Elliott's situation is being handled internally and that the team respects his need for privacy. He praised Harrison's return and called it an important boost to defensive depth. On the field conditions, Tomlin reaffirmed that the club had already begun coordination with maintenance crews for immediate correction, noting that the field replacement will be completed before their next home appearance. His acknowledgement of the issue was rare for an active coach to make public, which underscores the severity of player concerns. Internally, several members of the organization have described the last 48 hours as the most demanding stretch of the season so far. The confluence of a national field safety story, a key starter's absence, and active trade negotiations has shifted Pittsburgh's weekly rhythm. Team meetings have included extended discussions about player safety and readiness for a short week road game. Media coverage across the league continues to highlight Acrisure Stadium surface as a focal point for broader player safety reform. The NFLPA has previously flagged the stadium twice since 2019 for similar concerns, primarily after high-impact games played in cold and wet conditions. This week's complaints mark the third such instance in 6 seasons. League data shows that Pittsburgh's home field hosts an average of 20 events per year, including football and college games, which accelerates wear and tear. The current plan calls for a full resodding using hybrid Bermuda grass before the next Steelers home game in late October. As for roster adjustments, front office personnel have remained in close communication with agents across the league. Pittsburgh's remaining salary cap space stands near $8 million, sufficient for a mid-tier acquisition without releasing a starter. Jakobi Meyers' contract runs through 2026, with a base salary of $11 million per year, which would require partial restructuring or salary offset. Despite the financial complexity, analysts expect the Steelers to remain active in discussions until the final trade window closes. The atmosphere at the Steelers' practice facility has been described as intense but controlled. Training sessions have focused on technique refinement rather than heavy physical contact, an approach aimed at minimizing further injuries. Conditioning coach Garrett G. Mont has been working closely with the medical team to monitor recovery workloads for players returning from injury, including Harrison and running back Jaylen Warren, who has been managing a minor hamstring strain. Quarterback Aaron Rodgers, who joined the Steelers this offseason, was asked about the turf controversy after practice. He responded briefly, saying that players just want consistency in field conditions. His comment added further weight to the NFLPA's inquiry, which now includes input from multiple veteran quarterbacks and union representatives. The ongoing combination of health uncertainty, surface concerns, and front office movement has created an unusual level of transparency within the organization. Tomlin, known for his brevity and control, has allowed more information to surface publicly than at any other point this season. His remarks, coupled with player statements, have effectively confirmed that the Steelers are undergoing internal evaluation on several operational fronts. For now, the immediate task remains the same: preparing for Thursday night's divisional contest in Cincinnati. The matchup carries both competitive and symbolic significance. A victory would strengthen Pittsburgh's standing atop the AFC North, while another round of injuries or field controversy could extend the current wave of scrutiny. Tomlin's steady but candid handling of the week's developments has redefined the team's messaging. His acknowledgement of a poor playing surface, his updates on key personnel, and his openness to trade adjustments mark a departure from his usual reticence. The Steelers now enter the next phase of their season under the weight of league attention, with their health, infrastructure, and strategy all under review.
You know, to be honest, it was shocking to me. Andrew Berry must be a lot smarter than me or us, because it doesn't make sense to me to trade a quarterback that you think enough of to make your opening day starter to a division opponent that's hurting in that area. But that's just my personal feelings.
Mike Tomlin has broken his silence, and what he said about the Browns' quarterback chaos and his own team's mistaken pass on Shedeur Sanders is already sending shockwaves through the AFC North. It began with Kevin Stefanski and the Browns. Stefanski declined to insert Shedeur Sanders during Cleveland's loss to Pittsburgh. That decision stirred outrage. Media screenshots showed headlines about Stefanski's refusal, fan backlash, and commentary involving Jerry Jeudy. The drama, though rooted in Browns territory, extended its fingers across the division. Questions emerged about roster construction, draft decisions, and front office judgment. Into that noise stepped Mike Tomlin. Tomlin has rarely, if ever, publicly lambasted another team's personnel decisions, yet this time he did. During a Monday media session before Pittsburgh's Thursday night game versus Cincinnati, Tomlin addressed Cleveland's trade of Joe Flacco. He said, "To be honest, it was shocking to me. It doesn't make sense to me to trade a quarterback that you think enough of to make your opening day starter to a division opponent that's hurting in that area. But that's just my personal feelings." Tomlin's comments referenced that Flacco had begun the season as Cleveland's starting quarterback. After 4 games and a league-high 9 turnovers, Flacco was benched in favor of rookie Dillon Gabriel. Then, in a rare intra-division deal on October 7, Cleveland traded Flacco and a 2026 sixth-round pick to Cincinnati in exchange for a 2026 fifth-round pick. Tomlin questioned the wisdom of sending a starter to a struggling division rival. He acknowledged that he couldn't fully fault Cincinnati for seizing an opportunity, saying it certainly made sense from Cincinnati's perspective. The comment marked a shift in the narrative, a coach from a rival stepping into what had seemed like intra-Browns chaos. Critics instantly noticed the boldness. Analysts called the move unprecedented. Tomlin's words have become the dominant storyline around the Flacco trade. But how does this relate to Shedeur Sanders and Pittsburgh's earlier decisions? Sanders, picked in the 5th round at pick 144 by Cleveland, fell farther than projected. He had earlier drawn interest from multiple teams, including a top 30 visit with the Steelers. Tomlin had spoken positively about Sanders during the pre-draft window. He described their meeting as normal, but noted Sanders showed a toughness and competitive spirit. Still, the Steelers declined to use any of their earlier picks on Sanders. They selected defensive tackle Derek Harmon at running back Caleb Johnson at 83 and edge rusher Jack Sawyer at 123. Then Pittsburgh picked quarterback Will Howard later at number 185. Tomlin later justified the decision, saying the team was focused on bolstering its big man presence in the trenches rather than chasing a quarterback early. Some analysts believe this will one day be deemed one of the worst decisions in the Tomlin era if Sanders succeeds. Former NFL defensive tackle turned analyst Chris Canty said, "If Shedeur Sanders starts the majority of the games this season in Cleveland, is not drafting him the biggest mistake in the Mike Tomlin era of Steelers football?" Others offered that the Steelers never seriously intended to draft him, according to team insiders. The rivalry context amplifies all this. Pittsburgh and Cleveland clash twice annually. Every decision in that division is magnified. Now, Tomlin's criticisms of Berry and Stefanski feed into comparisons between how well each franchise handles quarterbacks. The Browns' internal turmoil contrasts with Pittsburgh's own draft reckoning, and Steelers fans keep reminding each other the Steelers passed on Sanders before he even joined the Browns' QB room. Tomlin's move also shifted attention away from Browns-only drama. The FIO, front office decisions at Cleveland, now look like something Tomlin predicted, a kind of divisional overreach. His public questioning frames Pittsburgh as more disciplined. The message: Pittsburgh knew what it was doing when it declined Sanders. The timing is notable. Tomlin's remarks arrived 3 days after Pittsburgh's 23-9 victory over Cleveland. That win dropped the Browns to 1-5 and extended Cleveland's losing streak in Pittsburgh to 22 straight regular season games. In that same game, Sanders did not see field time. He sat as QB2 while Gabriel started. Media coverage showed clips of Stefanski refusing to put Sanders in. The narrative became, the Browns mishandled their quarterback room publicly. Tomlin's critique over Flacco's trade further complicated the narrative. In a rare move, he called out Berry by name. That is not standard coaching posture. Most coaches avoid criticizing division rivals' internal moves. Tomlin's "just my personal feelings" attempt to soften it did not mute the impact. Joe Flacco responded by saying Tomlin was probably playing the game a little bit. The public reaction has already layered on. Media outlets flagged Tomlin's remarks as the storyline of the week. One observer noted trading Flacco to Cincinnati was shocking given his status as opening day starter. These dynamics converge. An unpopular Browns decision, a Steelers coach publicly breaking silence, and a quarterback the Steelers passed up now sitting across the division. The Sanders angle continues to fuel discourse. He draws social media attention. His brother Shiloh even impersonated him at a Browns-Steelers game, stirring confusion and viral buzz. Some Steelers fans see that as a taunt, a reminder that Pittsburgh let Sanders slip. The juxtaposition intensifies debates. Browns' poor judgment versus Steelers' foresight or cocktail of cautious overthinking. Tomlin's comment about a rival's internal move reframed the drama so that Pittsburgh now appears not only involved, but morally superior. He cast his team as strategists, pointing to flaws in others' management. Now the attention shifts to Thursday night. Pittsburgh faces the Bengals, who now employ Flacco. Tomlin's words aren't just criticism, they're a setup. He predicted that trading a starter to a division rival does not make sense, and now he must back that up on the field. Flacco will be his opponent. The public has pinned Tomlin into a corner. If Cincinnati's offense humbles Pittsburgh, those words will echo badly. If Pittsburgh prevails, Tomlin's critique will be framed as predictive and sharp. Within that frame, the Sanders storyline will demand more attention. If Sanders succeeds in Cleveland, the torch flips. Pittsburgh's decision not to draft him becomes a chronic misstep. If he struggles, Pittsburgh's conviction looks justified. The historical context amplifies this tension. The AFC North has witnessed quarterback controversies reshape entire franchises. Baltimore thrived with Flacco for years before moving on. Cleveland has cycled through 12 starting quarterbacks in the past 5 seasons alone. Pittsburgh enjoyed stability with Ben Roethlisberger for nearly 2 decades. That era ended, leaving the Steelers searching for their next franchise quarterback. Sanders entered the